located here in Anchorage on Denina land, and I will be facilitating this conversation with these three lovely ladies of farmers markets in rural Alaska, and really excited to learn more about how the tool of a farmer's market can be used to provide better access to fruits and vegetables and other food for rural Alaskans. So I think just to get started, I'll hand it off to our panelists to introduce themselves. So Evelynn, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. My name is Evelynn Trefon. I own and operate E&A Produce, which is a specialty produce market located in Newhalen and Iliamna, Alaska, in Southwest. I've been in operations since 2014, and so this will be my 10th summer, which is super exciting. And I hope to have lots of good celebrations this summer and food to provide to my community.
Well, thanks, Evelynn. Cayley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Cayley Eller. I work with the Tyonek Tribal Conservation District. I manage our Tyonek Grown program. And Iva, if you want me to share the PowerPoint, I can share screen. Otherwise, if we just want to be quick and consistent, move on to farmers market chats, I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah, let's just have everyone like quickly introduce themselves and then we'll go back.
Perfect.
Thank you. Claire.
Hi y'all, it's Claire. I'm on the Sukdiak land in Seward. I am coming in not as a Seward Farmers Market representative. I'm with the Alaska Farmers Market Association, and so I help connect direct marketing farmers, farm stands, CSAs, food hubs, and your traditional farmers market operators to the resources they might need when considering if a farmers market is right for their community. And so I have my Farmers Market Association hat on today, but I also started and operated the Seward Farmers Market for 3 years back in the early 2019 and early 2020s.
Well, thank you, everyone. Evelynn, do you want to just like share a little bit more about how you got the farmers market started and why, and just what that journey has been? And also I'll post your Facebook page in the chat if that is okay with you, so people can look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Kansas originally and moved to Alaska in 2005. Met my now husband 3 weeks after I moved to Alaska, and he was originally from Newhalen. So we decided that we wanted to raise our family here, and we moved back to Newhalen. And that was in 2011. And when I first moved here, I was working at a store as the manager and saw the lack of fresh fruits and vegetable options in the local stores here, and how hard it was to get fresh fruits and vegetables into the community, as far as like logistics and having it sit around at the airport and everything, because everything that's fresh has to be flown in, because the only way to get things here is either by barge, a very long route of barging from Anchorage to Homer to across the Cook Inlet to Williamsport, and then across a 17-mile road to Pile Bay, and then it gets on another barge and goes across Lake Iliamna to get actually to Iliamna. So barging is a very long journey for a piece of fruit. So the best way to get fruit and veggies to Iliamna would be to fly it in. And of course, logistically, that can be challenging sometimes with weather and runway conditions and that sort of thing. So long story short, I saw that there was definitely a need for fresh fruits and vegetables. And so I asked my best friend if she wanted to start a business. And so she lives in Anchorage, and she went to Costco and would shop for things and send them out to me on the airplane, and I'd go pick them up, and then I would set them up in the back of basically the trunk of my car, and literally drive door to door selling fruits and vegetables to people. And people loved it. I mean, people are just happy for fresh fruits and veggies. And so that's how E&A Produce Market began. Fast forward several years later, it's evolved into me ordering from a wholesale fruit and veggie vendor in Anchorage, having them send it out, drop it off to the air taxi for me, and then send it out on the airplane. And then I just pick it up and I set up tables in the clinic parking lot and sell it like farmers market style. This past spring of 2023, I was able to become SNAP eligible and accept people's SNAP benefits too, which has been pretty huge for our community. Food insecurity is huge in most rural Alaskan communities, and anything I can do to be able to help get more fruits and vegetables on people's tables, I'm all about that. My main focus is definitely obviously the fresh stuff, fruits and vegetables, but I've also kind of expanded and I sell Indian Valley meats, so the jerkies and sausages, and then Denali Dreams products, and several other Alaskan made and Alaskan grown vendors like Alaska Chips and that sort of thing. And then I've been in partnership with a farm up in Port Ellsworth, which is about 50 air miles north of me, and another farm about 50 miles air miles south of me in Igiugig, over the years, and be able to purchase as locally grown produce as I could. This summer, I'm hoping to be able to purchase more Alaskan grown items. The wholesaler I work with has about 3 or 4 seasonally that I can purchase from them. So that's been my main focus, is to get as much Alaskan grown or produced items into my market to sell to the people here in Iliamna, Newhalen. And I do get orders from the surrounding communities. There's about 7 villages in the vicinity that's pretty easy to throw a box of food on a plane and get it flown over to another village. So that's kind of how my business has evolved. And I'm happy to answer questions. I know Cayley has a great presentation too.
Thanks, Evelynn. That's such an inspiring story. And it's like pretty straightforward, but yeah, you're doing like a huge service for your community. It's cool. Does anyone have questions for Evelynn right now?
I did want to mention one more thing. I do sit on the Alaska Farmers Market Association board and have for 4 years, I think now. I'm actually the vice president on the board. And that's been a game changer as far as being able to access different funding opportunities and just networking and connections, and being able to hopefully continue to forge forward and build those relationships so that I can get more Alaskan grown produce into our communities, because I feel like that's where we need to head as that's where I feel like I need to head as a rural farmers market or especially produce market, and to be able to support those farmers and the local Alaskan growers as much as we can.
All right, well, if no one has any questions for Evelynn at the moment, Cayley, would you like to tell us more about Tyonek Grown and the farmers market there?
As I mentioned, I'm Cayley Eller. I work with the Tyonek Tribal Conservation District. We operate a farmers market in the native village of Tyonek, but that's kind of just a piece of our Tyonek Grown program. So I just wanted to provide a quick overview of that program and how we got to where we are as it relates to the farmers market, because, you know, for anyone that's interested in food and agriculture in a rural community, things evolve over time with your resources and access. So I don't want to lose the farmers market lens, but I thought it would be helpful to provide some context to our programs as a whole. So TTCD, Tyonek Tribal Conservation District, was formed as a partnership between the native village of Tyonek and the USDA to oversee conservation primarily around subsistence resources for the native village of Tyonek. And in 2012, the community decided that they wanted a community farm. And so TTCD was tasked with starting the garden or farm. It's 1.5 acres. And agricultural production has kind of, you know, ebbed and flowed with community capacity and support. But we're in a really strong place right now. So we've been operating for more than a decade. We currently have 1.5 acre farm with a newly expanded 1/4 acre of native and medicinal plants. We operate hydroponics throughout the winter. We do a lot of youth outreach and education in the school system. as well as nutrition, education, and professional development opportunities with the community. We're increasingly working on rethinking our distribution methods and expanding some of the produce offerings beyond just what we can grow at the garden. And I'm sure Evelynn has a lot of lessons to learn about how those kind of logistics work. Then obviously the farmers market, which for now is a seasonal event. Just a quick overview. This is how we started. You know, everything starts from zero. So we did a lot of infrastructure building in 2012 and 13. And then in 2014 and 18, the program really took off. We started hiring youth interns, providing professional development. We launched the farmers markets. We started selling some excess food that wasn't sold in Tyonek back to the Anchorage market. Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh, sorry. We continue to do a lot of education with the Tabona School. We've sold to the Alaska Food Hub. We've sold to ANMC, and kind of ongoing are always working on improving our soil irrigation and you know, field and staff capacity. So we currently are expanding into community garden plots, so we will always try to maximize production for the community. But there are also many community members who don't have space for gardens at their home. And so we're trying to expand into providing food access in as many different avenues as we can, and also just grow local capacity and knowledge around gardening. So some of those things just involve doing more community education, providing community garden spaces, providing new ways to distribute food and educate around food, like CSA and subscription boxes, doing more outreach with community members and really getting some feedback, and trying to make sure that the program is still meeting the needs of what the community originally intended for it to do. But in the context of rural, you know, food production and rural farmers markets, I just wanted to call out that things are never like a linear process. And, you know, this just shows that, you know, sometimes you peak and you have really great staff capacity and a local food hero that really kind of uplifts and brings a lot of energy to a project. And then COVID hits and or you lose staff, or things happen, you lose funding. And so I just wanted to say that a lot of models can shift, community needs shift. And, you know, right now we're rebuilding from a period that was really hit our program hard, and we had staff turnover. We lost kind of a local food hero in the community, and the farm went out of production for a couple of years, and our infrastructure went down. And this year, hopefully we'll double our production from last year at least. But it takes time, and you know, even when you go through low kind of periods, it's part of the cycle. Like, you can build back better, and I think we really are doing that right now. So I just want to say that because I think we're one of the older programs that is doing, you know, agriculture in an off the road system community, and I think we've done it very well, but it's never, you know, a perfect climb. And I think it's important to recognize that. I'm going to jump ahead because I know I'm taking up time. So I just wanted to say that looking forward, you know, one thing we're really doing is making sure that our farmers market and our food distribution models are still working the best way they can for the community. And we're doing a lot of evaluation around that right now, whether we should be looking at some online ordering models, or how we can expand to, you know, offer access to more Alaska grown foods grown from other communities, or even, you know, looking the other way and providing some of what we can grow back to the Tyonek tribal members that live in Anchorage and surrounding communities, because the majority of Tyonek shareholders live outside of the village. So those are some of the things we're working on.
Thanks, Cayley. So how does the farmers market the most people who in Tyonek who access the food grown at the farm, sorry, get it through the farmers market, or is that just like one way? What is like the role of the farmers market in the program?
Yeah, right now it is our primary way of getting food back to the community is the farmers market. But that's something that we're thinking a lot about. I think kind of because we had this dip with COVID and the farm was closed off to community access and we lost some of that community involvement piece of the farm. And the farmers market is just not very, very busy. It's kind of off the beaten path of the community. And so one thing we're really exploring this year is, the food system and how people access food has changed a lot since COVID. And so we're exploring, is the farmers market still the right model? And if it is, what improvements can we make? Do we need to move its location? Do we need to do, just bring back more types of community events, more nutrition demos? It's just something we're thinking a lot about, that it is our primary source of distribution currently, and we also are thinking hard about like how to make it better, or if it's still the right solution.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do people, you said like people are accessing food differently now post-COVID. Are you referencing like using like Instacart or stuff like that, or?
Yeah, primarily, especially in Tyonek, where we're off the road system, but we're, I think, the closest off the road system community to Anchorage.
Mhm.
So I think for better and worse, there's a lot of urban influence, and there are 4 scheduled flights a day in and out of Tyonek. So people do, Instacart to Merrillfield and have their groceries flown over, or oftentimes I fly in and out to work at the garden and people are flying in Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. I don't think that happened as much before COVID, that we had such ready access to some of those amenities. But if people are used to ordering their groceries online, is that something that we should be looking at, is looking at more of this automated model where we can harvest, store, inventory what we have, including potentially bringing in more inventory from other producers in the state that might have options like meat and egg, poultry that we don't have, and then allow people to bulk order, and then do we want to have a community pickup site or do we want to deliver? And those are some of the things we need community feedback on right now that we're exploring.
Interesting. Cool. Well, that kind of leads me to a question for Claire, which is, what exactly is a farmer's market? Like, what if they went to online distribution? Would that still be a farmer's market? Or what is I don't know, what are we even talking about right now?
Yeah. So I love giving the disclaimer anytime I introduce the Farmers Market Association, as when we say farmers market, we're not just thinking of the traditional market model where you walk into a, more often than not, city space with 10 to 15 tents on either side of the street, block closed down, and food vendors everywhere. As an organization, we just revised our bylaws to reflect more types of farmers markets. And so we have 5 types of what we would consider farmers markets. The first one is the one I just referenced, the traditional farmers market. We also consider farm stands or direct marketing farmers, someone who is at a set location where the farmer sells the food that they produce to consumers. We consider CSAs as a farmer's market. So we define this as an individual farm or group of farmers with a subscription program that distributes food they produce directly to CSA members. We consider food hubs farmers markets, which are defined as an entity that operates a farmers market with an online public assembly of local vendors, including a minimum of 1 farmer. And then the newest addition, which was brought out of a lot of work and effort from Evelynn is our remote specialty crop market. And this is a public reoccurring assembly of specialty crop vendors whose organizer is actively seeking local farm producers and local products. And so when we say farmers market, what we're really referencing is any outlet that is bringing food, specifically local food, into our communities. And so I think this adaptation of what we have defined farmers markets as reflects a lot of our uniqueness as a state and these regional differences that we face, whether we're 100 miles apart or 5 minutes apart as the bird flies. We see so many specific needs for communities that only those community members know how to fill those gaps. And so as an organization, we want to meet communities where they're at and support communities in their specific needs, because we are as an organization supposed to be farmers market experts, but we're not community experts. So if your community thinks that your farmers market would look like Evelynn, then that is a farmers market. And so there's a definition, but there's also not a definition. We're open to more definitions of farmers markets if need be.
That's interesting. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Just wanna, anytime anyone has a question, just raise your hand or butt in. If not, I'm blanking. Oh, so what exactly then, what is the advantage if a farmer's market can be so many different things? What are the advantages of like getting your business, your food distribution business, like designated as a farmer's market? Or like why would you wanna, how does that designation, how could that help you in the goal of providing fresh, or like fresh fruits and vegetables or other foods, particularly locally grown foods, to your community?
I think there are so many. I don't want to be like, oh, here's a farmers market association plug, but we are, as an organization, food access runs deep in our roots, and we offer many opportunities for folks who consider themselves farmers markets or are direct marketing farmers to participate in food access programs. We recently launched a SNAP Market Match program where we double SNAP dollars, dollar for dollar, up to $40. And so if you had a customer who purchased $40 on their Quest card, you would give them $40 free. And we're kind of just utilizing this farmers market label and platform to gather resources to offer up to producers. And in the same vein of food access, I think labeling yourself as a farmer's market or a direct marketing farmer does allow you to apply for federal nutrition assistance programs like SNAP and becoming an authorized SNAP retailer, or becoming an authorized farmers market nutrition program vendor or farmer. And so there are avenues where there is specific support for folks who label themselves as farmers markets. And because many states in the lower 48 say a farmers market is an assembly of 3 or more farmers, we decided to reduce that barrier to, here's all the definitions of farmers markets. If you fall in those categories, you can participate in these nutrition assistance programs. You can utilize the resources we have to offer and apply to funding opportunities. And so I think it's more of a resource share and networking opportunity to kind of fall under that umbrella. But I'd be curious to see what the other Evelynn and Cayley have to say about designating themselves as farmers markets, if there was a benefit to that.
I think just being, because farmers market's all about getting food access to people. It's about the farmers cutting out the middleman essentially and getting food to the people. Like I hate to use farm to table because it's kind of become cliche, but it's farm to table. That's not an option for where I live. So I really appreciate the Alaska Farmers Market Association has been able to take a wider lens on Alaska and what is actually happening in Alaska, and being able to be included in as a non-traditional farmers market and more of a specialty produce market is great because it's allowed me to access things such as there's an amazing Alaska Farmers Market toolkit on the Alaska Farmers Market Association website that just tells you it has the business and financial planning, the market operations, how to promote your market, the legal concerns, and all that great information that you need to be able to get a farmers market started in your own community. Nobody knows your community better than you do, but this gives you an outline of okay, this is what you want to do, but here's what else you got to think about, like big picture. Like I didn't think about expenses when I started. I didn't think about saving gas receipts or anything like that because I'd never run a business before. I just wanted to make it happen. And so me being me, I just do. And so at 10 years later, I've learned a lot of things, and definitely saving your gas receipts and any business expenses that you have or incur, tracking your mileage, so things like that just are extremely important when it comes to tax time. And this farmers market toolkit will definitely get you in the right direction on how to create your own farmers market in your own community. The Farmers Market Association also, being a member, you have access to the FM. I always get them mixed up, but I think it's the FMPP, which is like monies so that you can do marketing for your farmers market. Is that right, Claire? So you can apply for that annually and receive those monies. So that I've used the monies to purchase the sandwich boards to just say market open, and then I just tape a sign with my hours of operation on it every year. And that's been really nice because my old boards were just leftover plywood and they were so heavy, and I'd have to put them on top of my car and drive really slow up to my market location and hope that they didn't fall off. And so these sandwich boards are much more easy to pack around and carry. So that's been a great addition to my market. Other resources, Claire mentioned the SNAP matching, because I was able to qualify as a SNAP accepting vendor. Last year, I was able to take part in the SNAP matching. And so for every $40 somebody spent of their SNAP benefits or food stamp benefits, the Alaska Farmers Market would mail me a check for up to $40 worth of the matching. And then I was able to take it one step further, and I reached out to our local clinic, and they matched an additional $20 of SNAP benefits. So for that $40 of somebody's SNAP benefits, they were able to spend $100, get $100 worth of stuff at my market, which was amazing. So I'm hopeful that'll, I know AFMA is definitely have the funds to do that again this summer for my market. And I'm hoping the clinic will be able to do that again also, because $40 and $100 is quite a lot more produce that I can get into people's houses. And that's just the goal. I don't run my market to make a profit. I really don't make a profit. I just always hope to break even, honestly. And then all the leftovers we just consume as a family, and that's basically, we're literally eating our profits, because whatever is left over we eat. So that's how I run my market. I'm not a good business person. I really am not, but I make it work, and people love the market. I mean, it's something that they look forward to every summer. I run it twice a week, pretty much May to September. Because I work at the school too during the school time. So I'd love to do it year round, but that's not a feasible option right now for our family. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. If you have any thoughts too, Cayley.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I think one thing I'm thinking about is we're talking about alternative or non-traditional markets. Because I think there's a lot of power in farmers markets, which I'll kind of circle back to, I think, in a long way, because when we're looking at non-traditional supply chains, there's this other terminology called alternative agri-food networks, AAFNs. And that might be kind of an academic term, but it's a way to think about like what are all of these alternative networks of food pathways that we can develop that, you know, that bypass the supermarket supply chain. And those are, you know, CSAs and food hubs and farmers markets and all of these ways that farmers and producers have figured out how to get food to their, you know, to consumers. And that just can look so differently if we're talking, you know, we're talking about rural farmers markets, but rural food supply chains look very different than they do in urban areas, and they look very different in every community. And it does take some creative thinking and alternative thinking around what does your specific community need? What are the barriers? What capacity do you have? And do community members want to access food differently? Do elders and children need a different way to access food than, you know, working people that are out in the community? And do you need a combination of, you know, subscription like Veggie RX that can reach these community members that can't get to the market? And so I just wanted to like throw that piece out, maybe to like broaden the conversation more than just farmers markets as a solution for like food security and providing access. But some of these things, you know, that like name recognition of a farmer's market has a lot of power, and there are a lot of programs that are built, as you know, Evelynn and Claire described, that can support you if you know, if you are a market that you can receive SNAP, and then you can SNAP match, and you can like really boost out these ways that you can provide some food security support to your community. And that it isn't always as straightforward when you, if your solution requires more creative thinking. But I will say, you know, AFMA and other organizations around the state are advocating really, really hard for this like continued expansion of access to these programs and expansion of how we're thinking about a farmer's market and what it can look like in order to make programs work for everyone. So I think that there is still a benefit right now to being, you know, under a farmer's market model and getting access to some of those things, some of those programs that are available. But I think there's a lot of models out there that people are creating and making work for their communities.
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely have a lot of creative ways of getting food to each other in Alaska. Trying to arrange for some herring eggs to be sent to me at the moment, so. Yeah, I'm just interested in who is on the call right now and where you guys are at in if you're thinking about starting a farmer's market or you have one, or just like where you're at in that journey, if that is what you're doing, and any questions or comments. And then yeah, so I'm just gonna open that up right now and see if anyone has anything.
So I'll jump in. My name's Matt. I work with Kids Covered out of Wasilla, just north of Wasilla. And we serve meals to kids year round. And they're in rural areas, so we're going up to 40 miles out to get our meals out to them. And we're exploring our options right now for initiating a farmer's market where we're hopefully able to serve those same families. And what we're trying to figure out is, you know, if we have an online marketplace, can we accept SNAP and do the SNAP match exclusively online, or is that program still in its kind of pilot phase? You know, I looked into it. It seemed like there was a lot of big retailers. I saw Amazon and, you know, Kroger and all these big names, but I couldn't tell if that was something that was accessible to us as a food hub or a farmer's market, just exclusively the online sales.
So the simplest answer is not yet. Not yet for how currently the classification of food hubs works. It's really hard for a food hub, the entity that would become SNAP authorized, doesn't technically own all the product. And so because of that, they cannot accept the SNAP benefits on behalf of their vendors. But that contradicts the waiver that farmers markets currently operate under, because the farmers market doesn't own the product. The vendors do. And so there is quite a bit of advocacy and brainstorming, food hubs nationwide trying to figure out how food hubs could become SNAP authorized. And so I think we're on this pathway for that to be possible, but we're not quite there yet.
It would be great if we could figure out how we can get to a point where we can distribute food and not just be donating it. So we have some sustainability to it. The communities that we're working with don't necessarily have the ability to come to our market. And they're in a food desert. So it seems like really important that we do figure out how to get that food to them. And that's the huge hurdle right now, is just taking the payment. That would be so huge if we could get the SNAP online for us.
I don't have the answer to the question I'm going to pose, but if the barrier is owning the inventory, as Claire said, I am curious how like a store operates, something that's not a food hub, that has, an aggregated group of profiles that each with their own inventory, but like a store that has purchased an inventory. And then they are the recipient of the SNAP benefits. That might be a model you could look at. There's of course risk in having to take on the inventory and have to be able to sell it all, but it could be an avenue to explore. I truly don't know what that looks like.
I know when I got approved to be SNAP approved, it was quite tedious. It took a lot of time to submit paperwork and different things, and you have to talk to several different people to make sure that you have all the paperwork in. And the first guy I talked to was in Washington, D.C., and he doesn't understand Alaska or like what we face in rural Alaska especially. And so that was difficult having that conversation with him on what I was doing and what I was trying to do. And then it got approved or whatever and got to the next step. And I talked to a guy in Hawaii and he's like, oh yeah, no problem, you're this. And so just continue to have those conversations with the USDA people, and just my recommendation is just try there. I'm going to drop a link in the chat on the store eligibility requirements for the food and nutrition service benefits, and just see just apply. I mean, the worst that they're going to do is tell you no at this point. That's how I kind of approach most things in life, is the worst they're going to do is tell me no, so I might as well try. And then if they do tell you no, then they should be able to give you a reason of why, and then maybe you can look at forming a nonprofit in addition to this the food cupboard, and see if you can make them work together or whatever. So just some ideas.
I appreciate that. I'll look into that.
And just before we move on, Claire, you said that there's advocacy for the food hubs being able to accept SNAP online. How would people get involved in that if they were interested?
Yeah, the Alaska Food Policy Council has a food hubs working group, and they meet regularly in a forum style. And I'd say that's your best connection within this state right now. I just put their working group in the chat.
Hey, this is Jennifer. I work for WIC, but I do not know the answer to this. WIC provides vouchers for WIC participants to use at farmers markets? I think even sometimes we've had double food bucks. I do not know though, because I'm not in that part of WIC, what qualifications you need to be a farmer's market for WIC. Have either of you looked into also providing WIC benefits?
I did last year. I often get requests to be able to accept the WIC vouchers. We're very we're a growing community, and so we have lots of pregnant moms and expecting moms and small children in our community, which is amazing. I did apply for WIC last spring as well and was denied because I don't grow anything. So that's the stipulation for the WIC thing, is you have to grow. I think that's, if I remember right, I have to be like a farmer to be able to accept the WIC benefits, which is interesting because I was able to accept the SNAP benefits. So I think that's something that I know is being looked at too and advocated for, is to redefine what that looks like to be able to accept WIC benefits in Alaska.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is for Alaskan grown, but I didn't realize you had to actually grow it yourself. So, thanks.
Yeah, the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program is a pretty unique situation because both farmers need to become authorized to accept those checks, and then farmers markets can also become authorized, but the farmers market cannot accept checks. The farmers market just receives education and training resources to support their vendors who are accepting checks. And so it's this two-pronged of, well, if your market's authorized, that doesn't mean the farmers at your market are accepting WIC checks. And so right now, it's just farmers who are authorized can accept those farmers market nutrition program vouchers.
And I think WIC is moving towards electronic deliverance of benefits. We thought it was going to be this year, but now it looks like it'll be next year. So the vouchers might go away. It might be handier for everybody, but yeah, I wish we could be in more places.
Is that a federal policy for the WIC? How the WIC is distributed to farmers markets, or is that a state policy?
It's a federal policy, and sounds like Claire has heard it's getting worked on. We're getting a new food rule this month, I guess, on the store foods we can offer. So maybe other people are working on the farmers markets, but it's federal.
I'm learning so much. Well, I guess just a really straightforward question. What would be the first step that someone would take if they wanted to start a farmer's market?
Access food and sell it. However that looks for your community. Like I said in the beginning, I would literally drive door to door. My daughter was 1 at the time when I first started, and I would strap her in the car seat and give her a banana and hope there wasn't too much mess, and we'd literally go door to door in Newhalen and Iliamna and sell out the fruits and vegetables. And like I said, also it evolved, and now it's a much more streamlined process. But yeah, just having food and selling it. I mean, you just got to be able to either grow it yourself or find an avenue or a vendor to sell it to you so that you can resell it.
I'll make my pitch for AFMA now. I think the first thing anyone should do is read the farmers market toolkit. And I think probably your first step will be different depending on if you're a producer or you're looking to be an aggregator. Because if you already have a product, launch and then find more people to join you if you can. But if you want to be an aggregator, there's also some relationships that need to be built and some behind the scenes working that needs to happen. But either way, I think the farmers market toolkit that Megan posted in the chat earlier is a huge resource for thinking through all of the steps and getting some important resources that'll help you take the right steps.
Yeah, I think I heard Cayley say it, but partnerships. I think starting a farmer's market it is possible as an individual. Evelynn is a perfect case, but we might vouch that your daughter helped too. But I think assessing community partnerships that might elevate your avenue to getting food out to folks who need it most. And then of course, if you are a producer, you have the food already in your hands. If you're not, you need to find it. And so there are many situations. Seward, when we started Seward Farmers Market, it was similar to this aggregation problem. There's no farmers currently in Seward, so we would drive 2 hours to the other side of the peninsula, source from farms, and then drive it back to Seward and sell at the market space. And so you need a little bit of creativity and rely on those partnerships.
Just to echo that too, partnerships are huge. I've worked with a couple different airlines, and the price of freight has gone up 30+% in the past 4 or 5 years, and it's over $1 a pound now for most of the airlines here to get things to Newhalen and Leona, which is nothing compared to other villages. I know down in Perryville it's like $2.25 a pound or something. So for a 10-pound bag of potatoes, I mean, that adds up quickly for your freight. I mean, you pay way more than the cost of the potatoes. So partnerships are huge, and just being able to work with my main partnerships, of course, are the airlines, whoever I buy the food from, and then just looking at different avenues of who else I can buy things at wholesale price. Last year I was able to incorporate Alaska flour as well, so they were a product I was able to sell last year, and Earth Breeze laundry detergent, which I see it on Facebook all the time, and I was like, well, maybe they'll let me sell their stuff. And so I contacted them, and they do. So now I'm an Earth Breeze laundry detergent distributor, which is just like a little package. If you're not familiar with it, it just looks like dryer sheets, but it's laundry detergent. And that's kind of a cool idea for rural Alaska too, because it's less weight and less plastic in our landfills. And anyway, it's a good thing to be able to sell it at market too. So just different partnerships and thinking about big picture, what we can bring into the communities to just make our communities better.
Helen, we received a huge donation from Earth Breeze laundry detergent, and now I'm wondering if you're the one that maybe put us on their radar, because it was such an out of the blue contact they made to us, and we were like, sure, we can get this laundry detergent to people.
It wasn't me, but that's awesome.
That's really funny. Pretty soon everyone will have Earth Breeze. It'll be like the next Toyo stove. I just learned so much from you and really enjoyed this conversation, so thank you so much.